But if they had been twice as many as 4 times, all of Fezziwig would have been much for them, and so would Mrs. Fezziwig. As to her, she was worthy to be his partner in every sense of the term. If that's not high praise, tell me higher, and I use it. A positive right appeared to issue from Fezziwig's canvas. They shone in every part of the dance like moons. You couldn't have predicted, at any given time, what would they have become of them next. And when old Fezziwig and Mrs. Fezziwig had gone through the dance, advance and retire, both hands to your partner, bow and curtsy, cocksure, thread and needle, and back again to your place. Fezziwig cut so deadly that he appeared to wink with his legs, and came upon his feet again without a stagger. When the clock struck 11, the domestic ball broke up. Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took their stations, one on either side of the door, and shaking hands with every person, and usually as he or she went out, wished him or her a Merry Christmas. When everybody had retired but the 2 apprentices, they did the same to them, and thus the cheerful voices died away, and the last were left to stew their bags, which were under the counter in the back shop. During the whole of this time, Scrooge had acted like a man out of his wits. His heart and soul were in the same, and with his former self. He corroborated everything, remembered everything, enjoyed everything, and underwent the strangest agitation. It was not until now, when the bright faces of his former self and the Dick were turned from them, that he remembered the ghost, and became conscious that it was looking full upon him, while the light upon his head burned very clear. "A small matter," said the ghost, "to make those silly folks so full of gratitude." "Small?" echoed Scrooge. The spirits signed to him to listen to the 2 apprentices, who were pouring out their hearts in praise of Fezziwig, and when he had done so, said, "Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of immortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserved this praise?" "It isn't that," said Scrooge, heated by the remark, and speaking unconsciously like his former, not his latter self. "It isn't that spirit he was, the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or toil. Say that his power lies in words and looks, in things so slight and insignificant that It is impossible to add and couldn't have not. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune. He felt those spirits glance and stopped. What is the matter? Asked the ghost. Nothing particular, said Scrooge. Something, I think, the ghost insisted. No, said Scrooge. No, I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. That's all. His former self held down the lamps as he gave utterance to the wish, and Scrooge and the ghost again stood side by side in the open air. My time goes short, observed the spirit. Quick! This was not addressed to Scrooge or to anyone whom he could see, but it produced an immediate effect. All again Scrooge saw himself. He is older now, a man in the prime of life. His face had not the harsh and rigid lines of later years, but it had began to wear the sign of care and of race. There was an eager, greedy, restless motion in the eye, which showed the passion that had taken root, and where the shadow of a growing tree would fall. He was not alone, but sat by the side of the very young girl in the mourning dress, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past.
It matters little,
He said softly.
to you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you? He rejoined.
A good one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world, he said. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the passage of wealth.
You fear the world too much.
She answered gently.
All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond their chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one unto all the master passion, gain, engrosses you. Have I not?
What then? He retorted. Even I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you. She shook her head. Am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good season we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy, he said. and patiently.
Your feeling tells you that you are not what you are.
She returned.
I am that which you promised happiness when you were one in heart, is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how nearly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
It was, no, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, another hope as its great end. In everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight, if this had never been between us,
said the girl, looking wildly, but with a steadiness upon him.
Tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? Oh, no.
He seemed to yield to the justice of the supposition in spite of himself, but he said, with a struggle, "You think not?"
I would gladly think otherwise if I could, she answered. Heaven knows, when I have learned a truth like this, I know how strong and irresistible it must be. If you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, can even I believe that you would choose a doorless girl? You, who in your very confidence with her, weigh everything by gain or choosing her. If for a moment you were false enough to your one guiding principle to do so, do I not know that your repentance and regret would surely follow? I do. And I release you with a full heart, for the love of him you once were.
He was about to speak, but with her head turned from him, she resumed.
You may. The memory of what is past have makes me hope you will have pain in this, a very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the recollection of it gladly as an unprofitable dream, from which it happened well that you awoke. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
She left him, and they parted. "Spirit," said Scrooge, "show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?" "One shadow more," exclaimed the ghost. "No more," cried Scrooge. "No more. I don't wish to see it. Show me no more." But the returnless ghost pinioned him above his arms and forced him to observe what happened next. They were in another scene and place. A room, not very large or handsome, but full of comfort. Near to the window fair sat a beautiful young girl, so like the last that Scrooge believed it was the same and to his so her, now a comely matron, sitting opposite her daughter. The noise in this room was perfectly tumultuous, for there were more children there than Scrooge in his agitated state of mind could count, and unlike the celebrated head and the poem, there were not 30 children conducting themselves like one, but every child was conducting itself like 30. The consequences were uproarious beyond belief, but no one seemed to care. On the contrary, the mother and the daughter laughed heartily and enjoyed it very much, and the latter, soon beginning to mingle in the sports, got plucked by the younger Biggins most ruthlessly. What would I not have given to be one of them? Though I never could have been so rude, no. I wouldn't for the wealth of all the world have crushed that braided hair and torn it down. And for the precious little shoes, I wouldn't have plucked it off, God bless my soul, to save my life. As to measuring her waist and sport, as they did about the young bride, I couldn't have done it. I should have expected my own to have grown round it full of punishment, and never come straight again. And yet I should have really liked, I want, to have touched her lips, to have questioned her, that she might have opened them, to have looked upon the lashes of her downcast eyes, and they never raised a blush, to have let loose waves of hair an inch, which would be like a keepsake beyond the breeze. In short, I would have liked, I do confess, to have had the latest license of the child, and you'd have been man enough to know its value. But now a knocking at the door was heard, and such rush immediately ensued that she with laughing face and plundered dress was brought towards it, the center of the flushed and boisterous group, just in time to greet the father, who came home attended by a man laden with Christmas toys and presents. Then the shouting and the struggling, and the onslaught that was made on the defenseless Potter, the scathing him with chairs for others to dive into his pockets, to spoil him of brown paper parcels, hold on tight by his cravat, hug him round by his neck, pommel his back, and kick his legs in irrepressible affection. The shouts of wonder and delight with which the development of every package was received. The terrible announcement that the baby had been taken in, the actor putting a loose frying pan into his mouth, and was more than suspected of having swallowed a fictitious turkey. He looked on the wooden platter. The immense relief of finding this a false alarm, the joy and gratitude and ecstasy, they were all indescribable. Like, it is enough that by degrees the children and their emotions got out the parlor, and by one stair at a time, up to the top of the house, where they went to bed, and so subsided. And now Scrooge looked more attentively than ever, when the master of the house, having his daughter leaned forwardly on him, sat down with her and her mother at his own fireside. And when he thought that such another creature, quite as graceful as full of promise, might have called him father, and been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life, his sight grew and dim indeed. "Bill," said the husband, turning to his wife with a smile, "I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon." "Who was it?" "Guess." "How can I? Don't I know?" she added at the same breath, laughing as he laughed. "Mr. Scrooge." Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shut up, and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His paternal eyes upon the point of death and near a hair, and there he sat alone, quite alone in the world, I do believe. "Spirit," said Scrooge in a broken voice, "remove me from this place. I told you, these were shadows of the things that have been," said the ghost. "That they are what they are. Do not blame me." "Remove me," said Scrooge, exclaimed. "I cannot bear it." He turned upon the ghost, and saying that it looked upon him with a face, at which, in some strange way, there were fragments of all the faces it had shown him, pressed to with it. "Leave me. Take me back. Hunt me no longer." And the struggle, if that can be called a struggle in which the ghost, with no visible resistance on its own part, was undisturbed by any word of its adversary. Scrooge observed that its light was burning high and bright, and dimly connecting that with its influence over him, he seized the extinguisher cap, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon his head. The spirit dropped beneath it, so that the extinguisher covered its whole form. But though Scrooge cast it down with all his force, he could not hide the light, which streamed from under it in an unbroken flood upon the ground. He was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and further of being in his own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze, in which his hand relaxed, and had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep.